those 30 years. Up until recently, we've modernized that platform and really made it such that we can grow our technology footprint. But we have been used in all of these deployments and in these buildings and at some other notable buildings. We have 3,000 plus installations across North America. We have 1,000 plus happy customers. We have all kinds of different use cases and unique customers, but roofing is one of our core trades. We have, I think, last count, 7 of the top 10, 15 of the top 25, and 25 of the top 50 roofing companies in North America using our software for their cost estimating. A little bit about our team. I just told you my background. Silicon Valley, venture capitalist, Yahoo before that, run technology startups going back to 2001. I graduated from the Georgia Institute of Technology here, so I'm an alumni, and it's always good to be back here at home. Glad to see everyone here. Tom McEwen, who's not here, he's actually flying in for our user conference tomorrow, is our VP of Technology. He does our engineering. He comes from a manufacturing background. And then David Sugar's over here, who you met earlier. He's our head of product management. He joined us in February. Tom undertook the rewriting of our platform from a client-server solution, undertook that effort in 2014. And we have just gotten to the point where we are now able to really apply some modern technology concepts to that platform. And David's leading the way here. I encourage you to spend some time with him later in terms of some of the features, functions, and add-on capabilities we're adding to the product. So what's happening in our industry? Obviously, this is the common theme here. Automation is everywhere. It's in manufacturing, aerospace, military, retail. This is just some pictures. The Mercedes-Benz factory, all of that. Amazon's robotic warehouses. There's robots in the field. But what's interesting is not only where automation is coming, but the data that automation creates. The data is everywhere. The data exhausts in all the devices you use, devices in the field. We've seen 3% penetration on a job site with smart devices go to 40% in just a couple of years. And all these devices generate data. You can't tell a machine what to do without data. It's not like a human where you can ask them what's wrong, what's working, what's right, and they can give you anecdotal remarks to that. You have to inform the machine with data, and that's what we're all about, capturing data. So we have a product line that is has 4 components. It's Edge Estimator, that's our core product, just a little commercial so you can kind of see where we're coming from. Creates bids easily and accurately. We have a product we launched to the cloud. It's called Construction Cloud. It's secure storage, redundancy, and availability of our product, of our bid data. And we can put all the other customer data in there. The interesting thing about bid data, it's got a lot of different elements. You have labor data, you have materials data. You could append other third-party data sources like weather, traffic, all kinds of things to it to draw insights. We're launching a product next year called Edge Field Manager, which extends the ability for you to manage that data in the field. You'll be able to reconcile and track real-time labor, materials. We'll do things such as time and materials tracking and bring back those insights through an analytics platform to really inform the bid and help an estimator do their job better over time. In its first release, Edge Analytics is just going to be data visualizations. But further on, and they'll talk about it later in the presentation, we're going to go into true machine learning where the distributed system that we'll put out in the marketplace from an estimator standpoint, the more estimators you have on our platform, the smarter that the machine becomes. The tacit knowledge an estimator has in his head, in his or her head, will actually be put to work in the machine for the benefit of the end user. And that's going to be really interesting. That's about 2 years away from us being able to ship that product. So how does it all start? Everything really starts with the bid. The bid generates the initial data record for a building construction project. It is the most important element. And what happens today is that in some cases, the bid is handed off outside of our system to a submittal package, to an accounting package, to other things. We want to maintain insights into that bid and be able to manage that data flow throughout the entire life cycle of the project, cradle to grave. So from scheduling and labor to resourcing to field and project management to change order and processing, the data can trigger events in the field. The data can create warnings or alerts for any potential negative impact that may happen in the field before it even happens. That type of intelligence you can bring down from the learnings you get from historical data trends applied in real time can change profitability of a project in real time while it's happening. That's where we're taking our entire industry. And then closing that loop and doing it over again. So your next bid is always better than your last bid. So a little bit about the past of estimating. Here's a little bit of a build-up. But in the past, estimating will work off of hard copies. Measurements were made with rulers in hand, numbers compiled, proposals were typewritten, and that was handed off to another process. Then you have computer software, which was what we did for the first 27 years of our life, the client-server software, that just made that job easier from a workflow perspective. It didn't have any real intelligence in it. It had some data backbone to it in terms of the materials database, and you could tune that and make it better, but it didn't really look into the data and look into the patterns of your data to make estimating better. And where we're going in the future is having true AR, VR, and computer vision to augment the takeoff, to make things like length, count, area better, faster, easier to compile for the end user. Things that will happen while you're in real time walking a job site, collecting data, pushing that data back to the estimates. The takeoff may be auto-generated or may come straight from the BIM. Contivo right here is actually working on products to reverse engineer a BIM. We're very interested in potentially providing that capability to our end users so they can actually get closer to the building image model than ever before. Everything in the field can be captured from an AR or VR perspective, and so you can have a real immersive environment where you can walk through a job site. All of the data elements that are in front of you, again, are brought back into the takeoff, which then informs the cost calculation. So for scheduling, we think some interesting things are going to happen here. We think an integrated supply chain will deliver materials on time and on demand, and I'll kind of show you how that works. For now, you had to sort of set a precedence and determine when materials and labor resources were available. You kind of just took a best guess. We think dynamic scheduling is the future. We think you can determine your needs for resources, but as you change those needs, machines and human augmentation are going to speed up work, producing optimal work schedules. What that means is not only will robotics come to play, but before robotics, you're going to have exoskeletons. You're going to have augmentation of the human workforce. You're going to be able to lift things you couldn't lift before. You're going to be able to receive materials in ways you never received them before. This is a picture of an actual truck. It's called the Geofencing. This is a concept vehicle, but this is what's going to deliver those materials on a job site. And those materials, again, will be through a notification or an alert sent by an estimate or sent by a change order or sent by something that impacts that original bid. So that's where we see scheduling going.
Who manufactures that?
That's GM.
That's GM?
Geofencing, S-U-R-U-S.
Wow.
From a resourcing perspective, some things are happening that are pretty interesting. We think open marketplaces will emerge for labor and materials. We think you'll be able to augment your labor force in real time. Just think of how Uber augments transportation for people. We think you'll be able to order staff augmentation to meet a deadline if you need to, or even better, if you have excess staff, you might be able to deploy them in other places. There's obviously a lot of questions there, unions and all kinds of other things that come up, but there's no doubt that robot labor augmentation will occur, and it will increase both the quality and the speed of the project. So in the past, there was just really no tracking of resourcing. You did it on an Excel spreadsheet if you had that and a ledger system. Right now, we're transferring bid information back and forth to the accounting system and making sure people get paid. The important thing about labor in the field is obviously payments. Believe it or not, blockchain is really important here. It's a very advanced concept, but there will be, in my opinion, ways that you will pay your labor force with exchangeable tokens that they may convert to cash if they want to, or they might take a vested interest in the project, which, by the way, increases your quality if someone's getting paid on a store value component that may increase the value if your project is successful. In the future, again, equipment and prefabricated materials will be delivered in real time via autonomous vehicles. We've seen this at the Construct Tech conference in Redwood City. They showed and demonstrated a machine that lays poured concrete, can build a house in a day, a 4-bedroom house. It was pretty interesting. Just a quick screenshot of what that looks like. They actually have that up and running. It's a company out of California. So project management, this was an interesting one. We feel that the most important thing for us as estimators is to understand how your project is performing in the field. So the project that we're launching for the first quarter of next year in beta and shipping second half of next year, Edge Field Manager, changes the game a little bit, I think, because it takes it from just ordering materials and schedules and crews based on your program schedule to being able to do this in a dynamic real-time environment. So you have the ability to have real-time tracking, and whether those materials are delivered by drone to the job site, by autonomous vehicle, your time clock changes in this fashion. It becomes a task clock. Because back to the red-green, if you have a laborer that's on the green light and able to work, current time tracking systems are just telling you that they're working. We know for a fact we have a large $3 billion revenue customer that has paper timesheets on the job site, and they keep getting ghost, what they call ghost laborers, right, David? It's someone who signs in one time and then signs in 3 other resources. And by the way, they collect a check for those other 3, and they go because they're 3 cousins or whatever it might be. We believe the time clock will change fundamentally. We think it'll become the task clock. And if you're on the task clock, then when you get an alert or you get a message, it's time to go deliver whatever you're doing, you go do that, and you'll do it with a set of resources that will be programmatically assigned to that task.
Otherwise known as theft.
Well, materials theft,
Labor theft.
Right, and so it's rape theft from a labor perspective, but materials theft is also a problem. We see material theft where the superintendent makes a duplicative order because they either forgot or they claim to have forgotten, and that second order then disappears from the job site or just sits there and gets wasted. So there's material wastage and there's material shrinkage, both that we eliminate with labor and material tracking.
No doubt.
The last piece is change orders. I mean, change orders are fairly straightforward. But we think that the ideal way to manage change orders is to actually look at the way the change orders are done fundamentally and model them, and so the impact of a change order can be forecasted and modeled with actual field data before that change order is executed. So that means you understand not only the cost of that change order to you, but the actual ability to deliver it for the benefit of the project and for the benefit of the owner. It's a dual benefit to be able to model change orders before they go out in the field and are executed on.
You have a function now?
We don't. We will have all this coming out in the next couple of years. So, but as field manager is the first step in that direction for us. So we were talking earlier, and someone had talked about and Greg certainly mentioned that the confusion of data flows that happen today, and this is just an example of how data flows through a disjointed ecosystem of applications. It's all kinds of complexity, confusion, different formats, different codes, and it's a real challenge. You've got submittals, you've got to get the work done, you've got analysis of the data. In some cases, you don't analyze that data, which is a real detriment to a lot of the customers. Again, Best Roofing does a tremendous job at analytics from a sales perspective. That's why they're so successful. I don't think many of our customers actually have gone down that step of even deploying fundamentally basic CRM and sales solutions to help win more jobs, to help do more work, to help manage that customer flow. We're excited to partner with them actually to integrate with their sales and CRM system. So that's the old way. We think it's a really broken model. At the end of the day, it's siloed data flow, slows processes, and increases in accuracy. We think if we modernize the data flow, enable someone to manage the bid from cradle to grave, integrating with best-of-breed applications, we create a really optimal system that flows data throughout it with the same type of quality and the same type of assurity that you're getting good data. Because with any system, if you have bad data, you get bad results. So our goal is to accelerate the data flow and make the quality or the veracity of that data such that every single bid that you do after the first one becomes a better bid. And that's really our goal as estimators. Where we're going with this from a heuristics perspective, or really from predictive analytics and multiple regression analysis, all these fancy terms, at the end of the day, it just means that the tacit knowledge that an estimator has in their head is taken out of their head, and the more they use our system, the more they use our distributed deployment, the more that it will teach what we're calling bid brain, which is our machine learning component. Those learnings are then brought back as a set of guardrails to a new estimator. So instead of having an apprenticeship model, which exists today for estimators, where you have to be tethered to a senior estimator to learn such things as, I need to add more labor because I'm doing a roof in the summer in Florida where it rains a lot and the trash receptacle is across the yard, across the construction site, I need to add more labor hours. That programmatically will happen in the software because we'll analyze weather, we'll analyze traffic patterns, we'll know where the labor force is coming from, we'll look at the construction job site outlay and understand how far the trash has to be dragged, and all that will be built in. So the novice estimator can be as good as the senior estimator over time when you deploy our distributed system. This product, BidBrain, is under development now. It'll be out at some point in 2019, right, Shows? That's right. All right, good. No, it is. There are patents that we're applying for. There are patents. Yes. Well, there are method patents, both system utility patents and method patents around BidBrain that we're applying for. So we're not going to be launching it until 2019, but we're hard at work on trying to modernize what's going on in the field of estimating. So that's our story. Any questions?
Man, that was a mouthful. I've got 4.
Sure.
You mentioned blockchain payments via tokens. and ownership, potential ownership of a project. I mean, that's like 4 things in a row there. Blockchain, issuing tokens that they can exchange for cash or remuneration somehow. Yeah. How did you get to project ownership and unpack that a little bit, would you?
Sure. So one of the things that I think is unrealized in the field today is that labor, well, it's not unrealized, but labor gets paid at the conclusion of the work. In some cases, that payment's withheld for a period of time because of the way that the flow of funds goes all the way to the top of the GC. I think if the GC took a different approach at building construction in general and said, instead of paying anyone in cash, I'm going to pay everyone in a blockchain token, what's called a building token.
Right.
And at the conclusion of your work, you're going to get issued a percentage of that token, just like you would a Bitcoin, if you will. And it's your choice. You can turn that into cash if you'd like, and the GC will buy that right back from you. Or you can keep that token, and you then have a vested interest in that building over time, because those tokens have value. It's a stored value. If you think about the blockchain as a ledger system, you could use the blockchain to manage the asset value of a building or the asset value of a piece of work. You have to do that in partnership with ownership, but there's no doubt it's coming.
Yeah, Oracle just made a big step in this, what he's talking about today. They announced it today.
Well, everybody knows what happened with Bitcoin, right? If you're following that, and everybody knows, and blockchain is going crazy.
Yeah. So blockchain is the facility that enables you to create an asset tag at its basis. Right. So Bitcoin is an asset tag for a cryptocurrency, but I could create asset tags for every item in this building right now and put them on the blockchain and be assured that each of those asset tags was protected, because blockchain, all it is 3-party verification. It'll replace accounting systems over the next 10 years.
Well, I never thought about it, but if you're going to pay, they're using blockchain to issue payments to refugees without identification, without paperwork. They can still get funds down all the way down to a homeless person. That said, that works really well with our immigrant labor.
That's right.
Pool. I wish we would have had something like this 20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, we can do a talk on the blockchain on our next one. We're not doing anything with blockchain at our company, but I'm very excited about blockchain for this industry.
Yeah, we need to get everybody up to speed on that. Yeah. You mentioned material tracking. With RFID, or what are you thinking?
Well, that's a good question. So, we're looking at QR codes. We're looking at image recognition at its basis.
So it would recognize the palette of material?
Sure. You take a photograph with your phone. The thing is that the important thing to note is that 40%, this device penetration of a smart device with a camera has gone from 3% to 40% in the last couple of years. It's almost going to get to 100% before you know it. That means everybody on the job site will have some fashion, way, shape, or form to take a photograph of something, even if that photograph just has to go in real time. Someone before had a question about how to get not drone data, but satellite data, I think it was it you, down through the cloud, down to your, so we're doing that today already. David's got a product that up and running that actually does that today. You can do the same thing with a screenshot. You can have the superintendent take a screenshot of materials in real time. It can show up at the project manager's desktop at the office, and they can accept those materials, and you can really track it.
Image recognition versus an embedded chip or something. So we're going to get away from embedding a chip in a product.
I don't know. I don't know if we'll get away from that, but there will be a variety of different ways to validate it. It's just a matter of which one you standardize.
Image recognition would demonetize it down to nothing, which is where everybody's going. Okay.
We got a question behind you. Sorry.
I got 2 in.
No, go ahead.
I was curious, as a company, obviously you come from outside the industry, you're in a venture capital space, that's about recognizing opportunity and capitalizing on it, which is why you're here. So I get how you're feeling about this. Are you guys focused specifically on the roofing segment, or is Estimating Edge beyond roofing into other trades? And if you are just focused on roofing, how big is the opportunity in your mind to bring this technology out there?
Sure. We are certainly focused on roofing as one of our most important trades. Over time, over the next 3 or 4 years, we will have unlimited trades available on our estimating platform. I'll give you an example. Today, we have someone who's estimating rubber playgrounds using our roofing conditions. They just have modified them and they do rubber playgrounds. So we don't want to restrict who can use the power of our platform by trade, but our DNA is in roofing. We have 100 years of collective industry experience in terms of resources and people in our company that have roofing DNA. So we'll always serve this industry first. It's also one of the most complex. So by serving this one first, it enables us to sell to other industries much easier also.
But by the way, the numbers that I run with lately about smartphone penetration is 83%.
There you go.
And your Latino workers are at the top of that food chain, so.
Not to mention, with Google's new phone, you can put on earphones, and provided you both are using the same phone, you can hear real-time translation.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
They say it works.
Yeah, the Pixel Buds. Yeah, they're unreal.
That's pretty cool.
So you have all this information. So are you looking at using machine learning to score which jobs you're likely to get and which you're not?
Ultimately, over time, not only what you're likely to get, which ones you actually want to bid on and which ones you don't. Sure. Yeah, we want to use advanced neural networks, really a distributed deployment, so that everyone who's contributing to that within the single confines of a company, because this is all proprietary to the company, can make their next job better. So ultimately, at the highest level, someone sets a set of parameters. Do you want to set these flags or those flags? Whether it's jobs we should or should not bid on, whether it's ways that we'll only bid if you hit these certain thresholds, or ways we won't bid if you do these certain things. There's lots of different ways to do it.
Yeah, my buddy built that John Deere landscapes. They do all the takeoffs for their contractors. So he bid that. So he's at a pretty high accuracy on which jobs they'll get versus not. So.
I'm curious about.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, my question was just, you kind of answered it with your focus on roofing, but it seems that you've also been pretty involved a little bit with GCs, right?
Well, not really. We've been working with one large GC to help with our field manager product, because they have a lot of different self-performed divisions, and we're trying it with one of the more complex ones. But sorry, I cut off your question.
Well, no, because I'm really interested in how do we take roofing and make it more prominent on the AEC or the GC level, that the respect level that we were talking about before. So I just think this is the type of information that those general contractors, those big turners and everything, are going to see a roofing contractor bringing to the forefront, and that can make a big difference in
Sure.
discussion.
Well, we're working on a plugin for Revit. I mean, one of the ways to do that is to start looking at the BIM model within Revit and start looking at the application of a roof in that context. I mean, that's a product that David's leading right now.
But one of the things that we deal with, Heidi, is that the general contractors have a tendency to make roofing a commodity.
Right.
So the more information they have about it, they think that that it does take expertise and safety and management of that project to make it happen.
Right.
So we have to be very careful in that line.
So they don't take it to it themselves.
They're just making it a commodity.
Yeah.
Well, the minute the manufacturers start setting the GCs up, there's going to be a major change in our industry.
But are we looking at
What's
this
the
the wrong
threat?
way? If it's going to happen, do we want to be on the front end of it? Do we want to use this predictive analytics, machine learning, to help us do our jobs better, so that we do come in at a higher probability of success, lower injury rates, higher profitability, and lower cost?
Yes.
That's exactly right.
I'm curious, just to back up, one of my biggest pain points historically is theft of hours. And I remember one of the last times I was, years ago, out driving to job sites. I went to 8 job sites, and on 6 of them, when I showed up without them knowing that the guys were on the ground. And I'm just doing the math in my head. And the theft of hours nationally used to be, for offsite labor, used to be 20%. Does that sound relatively close?
Sure.
But I never thought about something that you gave me different perspective. I like the context of green time, red time, because now all of a sudden that bucket looks twice as opportunistic. If we can look at that and break it down, and because I don't naturally think in context of the inefficiency, because it feels just like part of that theft of hours. But now you're letting me see there's a bigger bucket. Here's my question. What have you seen as a result from using your technology? Can you mine the data and show you went from between can you get your green time up from 60% to 85%? Or what is it? What have you seen?
Well, my product manager right there is in charge of data, but no, that's a good question. We are in the early innings of doing this data analysis. In fact, we just have recently identified 2 partners that we're going to be working with to mine their historical data that we have within our product. So we don't know what questions we'll be able to answer specifically yet, but with respect to how to manage labor pools, I really think, again, not taking into context union requirements here, but someone should be able to know at any given point in time where their entire crew is, what they're doing, what task at task level, and they ought to be able to see that on their phone or on their desktop with a smart map. If you go to Walt Disney World, so one of our big customers does all the routes for Walt Disney World, and if you go there and you download their app and you open it up, you can see all the wait times at all the rides. And if you drill down to another level of detail, underneath that, they know, Disney World knows, who's standing in line, who's working there, all that stuff. We want to take that level of insight and bring it to someone who wants to manage multiple job sites. So you know where your labor pool is, you know when they're arriving, you know if they're a mile away or if they're 10 miles away, and when they're on the job site, perhaps they're there, but the equipment isn't there, which is a bigger problem. So we want to optimize all that for you. Dave, do you want to add anything on the data question?
Yeah, I think that the whole green time, red time thing was new to me when we learned about that a little bit ago. And, you know, right now it's sort of walk before you run. So just sort of getting some time tracking out in the field to know. And then where I see that time is I estimated that this work would take me 2 hours and it took me 3 hours. Well, what happened to that other hour? And we really need to get to that point where we have that data and we can compare it back to what it was supposed to be and say, okay, where can we find all the inefficiencies? Things like tracking workers, that would be great to know, well, this guy, the dumpster that was 100 yards away, sort of example, this guy spent all this time walking back and forth. Well, maybe we could have moved the dumpster closer. That would have eliminated all of that red time in that process. So I think using different technologies like this, we can start to piece together the story that you're looking for.
Okay, we have time for one more question.
I was asking if y'all been able to track time in 2 dimensions yet. I don't know, like.
So what concept?
So geospatially and within where they're at in location to task.
Yeah, so the time tracking that we'll be implementing, we'll be able to track both from a telemetry perspective as well as a clock perspective, sure. But again, the power of this platform is only as much as our customers and end users deploy it. I mean, a lot of this stuff is very innovative, very advanced technologies. We want to work closely with our customers to make sure that we shape the solution that works best for them. Because some of our customers don't need this level of horsepower. Some can't wait for it. So we have a pretty broad breadth. We sell from the what we call the owner operator, father-son team that does roofs, all the way to the K-Post and best roofings that do a lot of revenue.
Greg had one more. Go ahead, Greg.
You know what, Josie discussed it on geofencing. That geofencing, I think, is just a phenomenal manager of labor. Since we deployed that, we found guys starting to clock in 30 minutes outside of where the reality was supposed to. So that technology is.
Yeah, the technology is there.
Already measured green time and red time. But I will tell you, very, very few customers use it.
Domino's and Uber, everybody's using geofencing. We're not, and we need to.
Okay, we get 2 more questions because then we're going to go to Bill because he's got the next tech talk. So go ahead, Ken and Steve. Did you guys have something?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, will the field management software also be able to track inventory to where you can turn job sites and your mobile fleet into real-time warehouses?
So that would be great. That would be an ideal scenario. That I would write that down.
Yeah.
You were learning stuff, right?
I'm in the manufacturing world where you had material departments planning reports come out of e-reports, and then you executed that at the job site with a barcode scanner that said, okay, these materials are here, and you knew where that was at. I worked for a software company previously that, our customers would have 99.5% inventory accuracy, which in the manufacturing world is just huge. And here you go I'm learning about the construction industry going, and my head is just exploding right where stuff's walking out the door, you're double ordering things, and
walking off the job site?
Walking off the job site, I'm like, are you kidding me? Where's the barcode scanner? Let's just start. Someone asked a question about how you track the pallet of goods. Let's just start with a printed purchase order on the pallet of goods that comes in so that I can reconcile that back to the purchase order that was made in the system. Let's just start there. Okay, let's forget about all the other stuff. The other stuff is really cool. Let's just start there and then build on that with automating that process more.
Which distribution needs to get involved in?
If anybody wants to see that kind of tracking relating to just like right now, I just have it for equipment. But if anybody wants to see that kind of job site tracking for equipment, come and see me. I'll show you.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have it in dev right now.
So I'll have a question. I have a thank you for being as innovative, coming from a different industry into our industry. This is long overdue.
Yes, it
And
is.
thanks for everything you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
That's exactly.
Good job, Jake.
Okay, so we have Bill on